Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition of Moohead Radio. Just getting here on time under the wire is Michelle. Can I hear you? No, I can't. So whatever the situation is, I have no audio on Michelle. So at any rate, we will proceed. Timeliness is godliness. She'll pop in just a minute. With that in mind, we begin our program. Hugh Jackson makes really lousy decisions. Ooh. Hugh Jackson makes really lousy decisions. Ooh. Burn your final time out on a run from the six. Whoa. Decisions like that, they really suck dick. Whoa. Hugh Jackson makes really lousy decisions. Ooh. Score the TD and go for the two. Ooh. 10 seconds later, the fans are all screwed. Ooh. Hugh Jackson makes really lousy decisions. Ooh. Bring you to church. Hi, how's everybody doing? I'm working on a night of no sleep. Boy, what an incredible night it was for me after watching the Browns lose again. I figured I'd be not getting enough sleep because of other issues. And right before I went to sleep, I was brushing my teeth and flossing like a good cow, and a crown came out of my mouth. I don't mean like Her Royal Majesty's crown. I mean a crown on my tooth, right into the sink. Can you say tooth decay? I knew you could. So, I don't sleep at all at night because of exposed tooth, and I'm thinking about it. I don't get any goddamn sleep. And I went to the dentist this morning, and it turns out that the cement just kind of went away and it popped out, and they re-cemented it back in. There was no decay on the tooth, but I still didn't get any fucking sleep. So now I'm singing Hugh Jackson spirituals on Moohead Radio. Another loss for Cleveland. It looks like Michelle didn't test her computer before she tried to come on the show. So shit happens. So I will go it alone until she figures out what she needs to do next. Hi to Sundance, by the way. Sundance, you better take care. Hi to WRX Chad. Hi to Amsterdam. To Wiley Fox, who's finally figured out the show begins at 6 o'clock and not 5 o'clock. He's living in the past, even though he hated my post-game show because he said it was negative. Or as he put it, I'm cutting this negative shit short. It's not really all that negative, really. We'll talk about it during the course of the show. I wanted to get Michelle on here early because I wanted to throw something at her, but I'll wait until that happens. I've had an opportunity really to sit back and think about the Browns game. Took me all of about 10 seconds, and I'm still of the opinion that Hugh Jackson made horrible decisions in the end of the game. And his answers were hardly comforting. The analytics answer, Well, I get my advice from good people. Kind of sounds like Donald Trump. I don't really do anything myself. I just go ahead and delegate to good people. And if good people tell me to jump off a cliff, I jump off a cliff. It is business by consultancy. And when you don't know what to do yourself and you start accepting what other people throw at you, you got a big fucking problem on your hands. The way I looked at this was nobody in their right mind, first of all, burns the final timeout by running the ball from the 6-yard line. You just don't do it on a first down play. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. You throw the ball 4 times. You conserve time because time is your enemy, not your friend. The notion of going for 2 points, and I know how he explained it, basically that he's just an impatient guy and wanted to get it over and done with. That's basically what his explanation was. If you listen to what he said afterwards, it's like, well, sooner or later we had to do it, It's kind of like sex with an ugly woman that you're on a date on. Sooner or later we have to get to it, but I just want to get it over, hold my nose and get it over with real quick. That's your 2-point conversion, folks. Now, I would understand if the play he called were a world-beating play that would somehow surprise the hell out of the opposition, like the Dan Marino, Bertie Kosar called play, the quick snap and all that stuff. If it were a really clever play, I'd get that. But it wasn't. You want to know what the play was? Well, we were going to snap the ball, and we were going to run our guys across the field and let Terrell Pryor go to the corner, and we were going to throw him a fade. Do you know what the percentage is of completing a fade? I don't know. That was that opportunity. That's that good information I got from upstairs. Yeah, buoy. That's going to be my new Hugh Jackson face. What do you think? Huh? Pretty good, huh? Of course, they had it covered. Like, I wonder if the Browns are going to throw to their only wide receiver. Well, we got to cover him first. We got to cover Barnidge second. And after that, the other guys drop the ball anyway. And they don't get open. So that's exactly what happened. They covered, and that's what the progression was. Poor Kessler looking in the corner of the end zone. Frozen when he saw that Terrell Pryor was covered by 17 men. Then Barnidge over the middle, taken away. Zone coverage. Remember, you're at the 2-yard line or wherever the hell you're at there. 6-yard line, wherever the hell you're at now. Remember, the field is compacted. So then I'm going to check down and throw the ball to Ricardo Lewis. Oh, I wish I could have some butter that I could smear all over my hands just so you'd have a visual representation of that. I questioned Ricardo Lewis on Twitter and took shit from people in the preseason. Ricardo Lewis couldn't catch the ball at Auburn, folks. He's fast, but he doesn't have good hands. And he proved it yesterday. Oh, he can get open, I'm sure. He's fast, but he doesn't consistently catch the ball. Nope. I don't know. I wouldn't have thrown it to him anyway, because even if the pass was there, which it wasn't because it was covered, he wouldn't have caught it. The most important drive of the game, when we had an opportunity to tie the game, we're down 21-13. We're driving the ball, and it's an important third down, and Kessler threw a rope right on the button over the middle of the field. Hi, Michelle.
Hi. Sorry about that.
Okay, good. Oh,
can you hear me okay?
Glad you got it. Yeah, you're good now.
Okay.
Yeah, and a perfectly thrown ball by Kessler right over the middle, and Ricardo Lewis just dropped it. Just let it go right through his hands. And, he had 2 or 3 drops in the game, and that's just not acceptable.
He was just like Braylon Edwards. He had no hands whatsoever. It was
right.
stone hands. Nothing.
Yeah, he bought a jugs machine. And we thought it was the one that throws footballs to people. Instead, it was like the female doll, so he could just kind of grab the nipples, wrong jugs machine. It's like, Ricardo Lewis, and so we don't see Rashard Higgins, who's got supposedly good hands. You don't see Peyton, who's got good hands. Instead, you see the speedy guy who can't catch the football. These are all decisions that Hugh Jackson's making, folks. And so this is why I say, Hugh Jackson makes really lousy decisions. Ooh. So, he goes ahead and he goes for the 2 because he prematurely ejaculates. That's basically the explanation he gave in the post-game conference. And we had to go for it sooner or later, so I went ahead and did it. Nobody agrees with that. There's no validity to that as an explanation. And it wasn't a good play call. And it wasn't a good play design. And they just played a simple zone defense. And all they did is they double-teamed Terrell Pryor. So, I mean, and it wasn't like they had to do anything overly brilliant in this situation. Could have waited to get the onside kick if that's what was going to happen. And then you have momentum going down the field. And then they're really on their heels when the last play of the fucking game, you're trying to tie it up and send the thing into overtime. You really got something going. Hugh, you know, what can I tell you? He blew the lead, man. He buried the lead. He just went for something out of order, out of sync, and it didn't work. And so, you know, the game was over prematurely. There was no excitement at the end. You knew once they missed the two, it was kind of like, you know what it's like? It's like if you're trying to get ratings and you have a cliffhanger, you know, Who Shot JR? And so it's a two-parter, remember? Who Shot JR? It's a two-parter, you know?
Yeah.
But what would have happened if you would have identified who shot JR instead of waiting until the next year if in this, you know, oops, we let the cat out of the bag. You got to be fucking stupid.
That was such a big deal, too.
Yeah, Who Shot JR? Hugh Jackson makes really. Yeah, this is going to be the new, you know, this is the new, it's, you know, well, I'm going to Mississippi. Oh, I'm going to see my baby. Yeah, this is the new song, the Hugh Jackson song, because he's already made a few of them. Hugh Jackson kicks instead of taking the ball in overtime. Ooh, you know, I'm going to have a collection by the end of the year, I have a feeling, and it isn't anything.
I walked away. I thought the game was going to be well over. I didn't think they would ever score that garbage time touchdown, let alone the momentum to get the field goal and the extra touchdown they needed because they blew the 2-point conversion. And yet somehow they got riled up and they rallied, and all of a sudden they brought it together. Now, Cody Kessler didn't do anything towards the end. He wasn't any help. That kid sucks. I mean, granted, he's a rookie, and granted, he's got no protection whatsoever, but he doesn't realize sometimes you have to get rid of the football. Otherwise, you're going to get murdered, honey. You're going to die on the field before week 8.
Chad wants to talk about Cam Irving. Wait a minute. Let's do a Cam Irving impression. Are we ready?
Don't touch me!
I was hyperventilating at home watching him.
He was standing on one play. He was like this, like he was going to juke somebody, and then somebody literally just pushed him right over at the shoulder, and he just fell over like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, I mean,
like, are you kidding me?
American band said, I give it a 1, Dick. You know, I mean, you know, the only black man without rhythm, Cam Irving. I mean, yeah, one finger can push him over. The one play, I swear to God, he dove on the ground. I thought he was fucking breakdancing. Honest to God. It's like, what in the world is he doing out here? He's horrible. He's horrible. Or as Donald Trump would say, horrific. Terrible. Terrible. Yeah. Charles Barkley. Yeah. He's horrid. And, you know, and it's like no surprise. It's like, hey, we're running the ball well. Wait, where's Cam Irving? It's like, then, oh man, we can't run the ball. Oh, there he is. I mean, the entire middle of the line just gets pancaked when he's in the game. He's terrible. And this is what I mean. Like, Hugh Jackson makes really lousy. Just, you know, when a guy like Ryder comes off of somebody's practice squad in week 1, does an admirable job, then tears his ACL at the end of the game, you know, but he does a credible job, you know, and Greco plays a position he hasn't played in a long time. He does a really credible job, and he's a good football player, you know, and then your starting center, a guy who's a first-round draft pick, he's just like Barkevius Mingo. He can't play. He's not strong enough. He gets run over, and he's not in shape. It's obvious just looking what the problem is, and we are forced, and the worst part of it is that you and I aren't going to pay for it because you and I are just going to laugh about it because we're going to be singing Cam Irving songs, you know?
I'm not getting upset about it, but you know what? The whole offensive line from start to finish is bad because they're so weak in the middle now with with Irving there in the middle, trying to hold it all together, he just basically gives up. He creates a wide open lane for anybody to blitz or to sack Kessler, which I don't even know how many times he got sacked. What, like 6 or 7? It was ridiculous. It was like every time I turned around, throw the fucking ball, dude. Get rid of the ball. Get rid of the ball, Kessler. But that wasn't happening. He was panicking because he's got nobody protecting him. And then he's throwing to the sidelines. You've got nobody who can get to the sidelines to make a catch because their coverage is so much better than anything we have on the field. And it's so frustrating because you expect them to do something. You're like, oh, Kessler's got an arm. He should be able to throw downfield. But he can't. He can't launch it and be accurate. He has no accuracy whatsoever. He can't even throw forward in a pass. He's making all these lateral plays that are just absolutely losing ground, or he's getting sacked and taking a loss. And it's a mess out there. You can't pinpoint any one person that's screwing it all up because it's all a mess.
Yeah, Cam Irving's song, Faith Hill, Breathe. That's his song, Honey, that's our song.
Caught him in a rush.
The only person who enjoyed watching him hyperventilating was Tony Pluto, and we're not even going to explain why that would be the case. Yeah, no, God almighty. Cam Irving, before we go back to the Browns, I wanted to do this to you because I was going to blindside you, and now I can do it. Now that you're on the air, because damn it, an argument is never over until it's over. All right?
An argument between us? Is this what we're doing?
No, not really. I mean, it's a difference of opinion. I wouldn't call it an argument.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. All right, and I sent you the article.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Kipnis on Trevor Bauer. Here we go. If anybody has covered Bauer or talked to Bauer, it's kind of funny. He's a big, dumb animal you need to babysit sometimes with his drones and his toys. I don't care. As long as he can still pitch for us, we've already shown up and overcome everything else. At this point, guys are like, add it to the list. We'll move on from there. It's not as funny of a joke if he can't pitch, but if he can pitch, it's like, okay, Trevor, you're an idiot, but go get us some outs now. Now, I mean, I've been telling you about this guy, and you were really down on Johnny Manziel, and you were right about him, all right? And I took exception as to what you said about his teammates kind of throwing him under the bus at A&M, and I, was kind of, but this, I mean, I see the way the players looked at him, but this is vocalized now. He's a jerk. I mean, and he may be a jerk who wins game 3 for us. Although it's going to be a tall order, he might be the guy, all right? But are you at least willing to consider that there's something wrong, something terribly wrong with Trevor?
No. There's something terribly wrong with Danny Salazar. There's something terribly wrong with a bunch of people, but not Trevor Bauer. So, what would you be? Would you rather he was? Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Socially awkward Trevor Bauer is viewed as a big dumb animal by someone who is also a big dumb animal. Have you ever seen Jason Kipnis on the field? Boy, so I don't think he meant it as an insult. He's messing with his drones. He's doing what he does. It's stupid that he cut his finger on it. But not playing with drones isn't stupid. Even
I'm not talking about playing with
drones. I'd rather
he
be playing than.
He's like the Hanson brother. He's like the Hanson.
Because he's different. Because he's like a sci-fi nerd, so that makes him a jerk.
No, what makes him a jerk?
I don't get your reasoning. You're a total asshole.
No. I'm reading what he's saying. You're an idiot, but go get some outs now. He's a big, dumb animal you need to babysit. I mean, this is, and the thing is that nobody stands up and goes, hey, you can't say that about Trevor. Nobody stands up for him.
I don't think anybody's taking it seriously or is offended by it.
Right.
I think you're looking into it a little too hard. I think you're looking for something that's not there. And I hope he takes those fucking ugly Blue Jays out one by one.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
One by one. Just kill them all.
We're going to let you have some fun right now as far as the baseball thing, because there isn't much to talk about baseball-wise until the game's already played. I think we know what the stakes are for the Toronto Blue Jays. and we're going up against a pitcher that we've scored 2 runs in 14 innings against, Stroman, who's been very effective against us. He has given up runs against other teams, but he's blown that fastball by us in the 2 appearances. He struck out 15 in 14 innings, and he's been a tough matchup for the Tribe. And Bauer's a guy who we hope that his pinky is healed and that he's able to throw all of his pitches and not just certain gripped balls. We hope that he has the ability to throw the change, or if he needs to use all 5 fingers, that he has the capability of doing that. The question I wanted
Not only
to
that, but we have to make sure that his finger's completely intact, because if any bit of blood gets on the ball that's not just a tiny little drop, they can totally kick him out of the game. So
yeah, they better have somebody up and
the
throwing.
Blue Jays are looking for any excuse to fuck with him. You know that they are going to. So it's at the ump's discretion. We'll see how many times it gets brought up or how many times we have to look at the ball tonight, because, the circumstances may not be so favorable for the Blue Jays.
Would you have Ryan Merritt and or Mike Clevenger up and throwing and warming in the beginning of this game just in case that Bauer's finger comes undone?
They should both be stretched out. They should absolutely be ready. And they even said that Clevenger's not even going to be doing anything but be out of the bullpen. They're not going to prep him at all for it. So with Merritt starting, you have to go to Clevenger, but they don't keep him ready. They don't keep him ready enough to go the long haul. And yes, Trevor gets, buried a little deep early sometimes and ends up having a really bad outing, or he could go completely baller and strike out 10 in a row and not have an issue. So it's kind of hard to say. You need to have somebody ready just in case. Like I said, a Stitch could blow out his hand. He could catch a ball or he could take a line drive off of his hand. One of our other pitchers did it. So anything is possible. But yeah, we should have more pitchers. We should have them ready to go. And not just for an inning or two, like Shaw. And I don't want to see him before the 8th inning. I do not want to see Shaw before the 8th inning.
No, but I'll tell you honestly, for all the early problems Shaw has had, he's actually been very good for the vast majority of the season. And the same thing's true of Cody Allen. When they implode, they tend to implode in a large way. It isn't like they have they dig themselves out of trouble. When they're in trouble, they generally don't get out of trouble. And when they're not, I mean, it was like the Cody Allen you saw the other day, just rip through the lineup, throwing curveballs for strikes and just kind of, having no trouble whatsoever. The thing is, I'd look at the success that Tomlin had, and I'm wondering if a guy like Merritt, who only throws 89 miles an hour, if he can keep the ball down and control the baseball, I'm wondering if he would be a better choice than Clevenger, who's 95 miles an hour but has shown the ability to give up the long ball. I'm not saying that Ryan Merritt doesn't, but, maybe an off-speed pitcher, because honestly, we had hell with Estrada. Our guys couldn't hit the off-speed pitch worth a damn. Maybe confusion might be a better solution to this problem than raw power.
That's what I think the only advantages of having Merritt over Clevenger is it's something that they haven't seen, and it's going to be totally new. It's going to take them a couple innings to figure it out, get through the lineup, and by then they have a chance to blow them out. Yeah, if you can take the early lead before they get you all figured out and have them go five innings even, we'll be in good shape. I don't foresee this series coming back to Cleveland.
Wow, I mean, that's a bold statement. I mean, is this 2-3-2? Is that the way this goes?
Yeah.
And that's
it used to be like 2-2-1-1-1.
Yeah, I know, and that's the way it is in basketball. It builds up to that crescendo. Here, 2-3-2. I mean, really, it's an advantage having home field the first 2 games. But man, if they win one of the games, they can close you out. That isn't quite fair, I don't think.
Yeah.
But that's, I guess, the way
it doesn't seem to be home field advantage, at all.
Not really, especially for a team that got in through the wild card. You would think that it should be a little bit more balanced than that. This Chief Wahoo logo lawsuit that went to hell today, they got thrown out of the Canadian courts. How stupid was that?
What a delicious waste of Canadian money, right? I mean, what a waste of time and money on so many
Did Hugh
people's
Jackson
lives.
decide to file that suit? Is that a Hugh Jackson decision?
It was at the last minute, so it could have been because his time is awful.
Yeah, I don't know. Chief Wahoo. I mean, I am, and I'm going to say something again that's going to piss somebody off, but I don't care. You know, when Hillary Clinton supports her husband, who is an abuser, you know, well, who cheated on her, she's an enabler. Melania Trump came out today and said, Billy Bush, pointing the finger at Billy Bush, egged on my husband to all this boy talk, you know, and she's doing Tammy Wynette's stand by your man thing. Doesn't that make her an enabler too? I don't understand the rules of this game. I don't understand the Chief Wahoo, the question about Chief Wahoo, who's been around since God knows how long in various images. You know, what world do we live in here? It's
been around for 70 years. We've been playing the Blue Jays for 39 of those years, and we've had Chief Wahoo on the uniforms the entire time. They've always been the Cleveland Indians ever since they started playing each other. I don't know what the problem is now. And the man who filed the guy who filed the injunction isn't even in the country. He's in China right now, and he won't even be back to watch the series. And the series is not broadcast in China, so he has no way of watching it.
And the damnedest part of it is right now he's watching the local team, the Beijing Chinks. And I don't understand.
And he's not offended at all. It doesn't bother him one bit.
Can't figure that out at all. This whole thing, I mean, if you really care about Native Americans, there's a lot of things you can do for Native Americans, all right, as initiatives to help get them out of bad situations. Alcohol's a huge problem in that community. You can donate time, money, counseling. You can give them opportunities. But, you know, taking away a logo off of a baseball hat isn't going to help those people at all. It's this faux assistance thing. It's this faux political correctness. You know, that this is somehow going to make the world a better place if we just start eliminating certain words from our vocabulary, certain images from our collective memories. It's bothersome. And and the fact that the announcer refuses to use the word Indians on his broadcast, I mean,
piss on him. You know what? That's immaturity on his level. It's just like when Bill Clinton left the White House. Do you know what they did? They took all the W's off of every keyboard in the entire building. It's childish and stupid. And, you know, it shouldn't bother anybody if you're better than that. And we're so much better than that. Who cares what these guys have to say? They're compensating because they know that they don't have what it takes to win the series against us. And the city doesn't like that. They want to win. They spent so much money and they've got so much invested in this team that they don't want to see them lose. And I could care less because they're going to lose. But the fact of the matter, I mean, if you think about it, Chief Wahoo has been around for everybody's life, the entire life. I have a Indian shirt that has the C on it, the We Came to Reign, the October shirt. I'm looking at it, I'm going, this doesn't even look like an Indian shirt. You can't tell what the hell this is. It could be anything. It almost looks like a Red Sox shirt because of the colors. Chief Wahoo's been part of my life since I was a tiny little child. I mean, I have a little piece of petrified wood that my dad hand carved a little Chief Wahoo for me. I was 4 years old and I was so upset that I couldn't find kids' logos on t-shirts. I couldn't find a kid's shirt with Chief Wahoo on it because they just weren't making children's MLB gear in the early 80s. My grandmother hand painted from her own eyes a Chief Wahoo for me on a t-shirt. So it means a lot to me. And I get really fucking offended when people want to take it away from me. You're not part of this team. You're not part of this family. You're not part of this city. Why does what we have and what we do affect you? Tell me how it affects you. If you don't like it, turn around and go the other fucking way, because I'm sick and tired of everybody coming in and telling Cleveland how to act, how to feel, what to do, how to get rid of your names. Go fuck yourselves, Canada. Go fuck yourselves.
Well, you know, and here's the other thing, what I would do personally. I would hire a bunch of guys like named Parkar Patel, you know, real like guys from Bombay, you know, from Mumbai, you know, in India. And they would be, so what do we call them? You know, we have 9 of them on the infield. They're Indians. I mean,
they're ducks, not feathers, and that's not racist, apparently, to say.
Indians. I mean, you know, it's like, I love myself a very nice vindaloo I enjoy my Indian food. I am an Indian, and I am not offended when somebody calls me an Indian. What do? We change the logo on the hat to a dark-skinned guy who likes hot, spicy food. I mean,
what good does it do? What positive outcome does it have? So you're not offended by a character on a hat that you're not wearing. Congratulations. And all of my experience and everything that we've ever discussed with Chief Wahoo, and it's been more of a discussion for the last maybe 10 years or so than it ever was in my lifetime. The indigenous people of America, even our area in northeastern Ohio, where we have many Native American cities and rivers and names, because that's the same region, that's where they're from. They're all, they need so much more. The logo on the hat doesn't do anything, and taking it away doesn't help them. If you want to do something, be proactive. It has absolutely no effect on these people. They could care less. They need attention on the real problems in their communities.
Well,
and these are people who are just outraged for no reason.
The Chief Wahoo logo is smiling. I think that's what bothers people. It's like, they've got no reason to be happy. What do you make an Indian smile for? I mean, they're drunk and they live on reservations. Why would they be smiling? I don't know.
Heaven forbid, because he's playing baseball on the side of the Muni lot, getting ready to wind up. Remember that guy? That was always like the first thing I could see going down the freeway. I knew we were close because I could see the big Indian on the side of Muni Stadium, and it was awesome. I love that thing.
That was then. All right. So we'll see what happens with Trevor Bauer. And I'm not going to get mad at Trevor Bauer if he doesn't succeed, because let's be honest, the Indians have played way above what any of us thought they were going to do. And being up 2-0, we'll see what happens in this game if they can get a little offense going, because Cleveland hasn't exactly been hitting the ball. Napoli looks lost. I mean, really lost on his swing. And, we're going to need somebody else, because Lindor is hitting again, thank God. He stopped hitting at the end of the year, and his bat looks like it's lively again, and that's great. But, Kipnis has stopped hitting.
To pick it up, yeah. If he wants to run his mouth and you want to use him as one of those, chatterboxes, he better start swinging the bat, because he's been over. I don't want to hear it from him.
And, Yan Gomes is a former Blue Jay. So somehow I want him to figure into this somehow. They got the Joe Carter home run that won them a World Series, and that came. Yeah,
I will never forget them for getting Joe Carter and winning a World Series with my Joe Carter.
Well, maybe our Yan Gomes, who used to be their Yan Gomes, with a broken hand, can somehow come up and hurt them in some way. There's always lots of angles when guys play for different teams, and believe me, there is a feeling somewhere beneath the breastbone of Yan Gomes that remembers that Toronto gave up on him without giving him a chance. And believe me, these guys, they carry this shit a long way. So maybe he can get a hold of one. We need help. Chisenhall can't keep hitting as well as he is. Other people are going to have to jump in and start helping out. Ramirez has hit well, but the last couple of games, not so good. Huh?
Rajai's good. I like seeing Rajai out there, because not only can he hit and put the ball into play, but he's amazing on the base paths. He's exactly who we need out there. Whether or not he's starting or you save him for a pinch situation, because these 1-1 games or 1-0 games, that's too close. We need to have a more explosive offense, which I do see happening in Toronto, because, like I've said before, it's just a hitter's park. There's going to be plenty of home runs in the series on both sides.
Yeah, I hope there aren't too many home runs, because the more home runs that are hit, the greater chance it's going to be them hitting them and not us. And that's, we want to keep the ball down. And even I couldn't believe how many ground ball outs Tomlin got, because that's unusual for him.
No.
Very unusual. They were
Crazy.
pounding I think the off-speed pitch, they were just getting on top of it and pounding it into the ground. And that's why I'm saying maybe Ryan Merritt's a better alternate choice if it comes to that. If Bauer – but, believe me, if Bauer gets beaten about and we're really behind early, heavily, we're not going to come back, chances are. I mean, we have to – the way we're winning is exactly the way the Cavaliers won Game 7. It's like scoreless for the last 4.5 minutes, and then we make a 3 and we win. I mean, that's the kind of thing the Indians are doing. It's like each inning, it's like I'm having about as much trouble breathing as Cam Irving because it's like, got to get through this inning, and each guy would, 3 up, 3 down, then we go 3 up and 3 down, and then when they walked Kipnis, and the pitcher Estrada doesn't walk many hitters. He's, right there with Tomlin as far as being a control pitcher. He doesn't throw anything also over 87, 88 miles an hour, but he has a devastating changeup. He walks the one guy, and then he throws one changeup that gets guessed right, and it's out of the park. And that's the ball game. I mean, that's the way the Indians need to win, because they need to continue to keep the hitters on their heels guessing, in and out, up and down, not letting the eye level get figured out by these power hitters. Take advantage of a slightly increased strike zone by pitching to the corners, staying away from the middle of the plate. If you have to walk Encarnacion, walk him. There's, Donaldson's dangerous, Encarnacion's dangerous, all right? But the other guys in that lineup, Batista's not the same guy. He can hit at 450 feet, but he's not like he was 3 years ago. Joey Bats, the guy who flipped the bat, he became famous for that. He looks a little long in his swing. He's striking out a hell of a lot. He's not making contact. Let's force.
Frustrated as hell, so he's mentally not all there, which is even better.
That's right. Well, he's an emotional guy. I mean, and you got to force their guys to have to rise to the occasion. If you got to pitch around the other ones, Donaldson is a legitimately good hitter, and Encarnacion, you just don't want him to get started because he can hit the ball a long way. But the whole thing is
keep him down. Yeah, even Tulowitzki, he'll get on base and start a rally. We need our guys to come out explosive, because we're not going to be able to keep these 1-run games or these 2-hit games like the Dodgers last night. There was 5 hits total in that game. We are not good in those situations. That can't be happening. So the other guys that are not hitting right now, they need to start stepping up. It needs to be more of a team effort. It always kind of rolls who's hot, and then another group comes on and they're hot too. But they all need to come out. Napoli especially needs to wake up and start the offense. I don't see how anybody can. I don't see how we can be confident in any of our pitchers if our offense doesn't produce.
Well, we got to keep them close. I mean, the only way we're going to win is it's almost like the tortoise race. It's the tortoise and the hare. And if we can get to the 6th inning with a 2-run lead, figuring somebody's going to make a bad pitch, they're going to get a run back, and just hold on for dear life.
That's just too small for comfort in Toronto. You need to have at least.
Yeah, well,
I mean, it's going to be a 6 or 7 kind of. It's like a 6-2-7 kind of score. It's going to be a high-scoring game tonight, I think. But I think we're going to come out on top. So who cares?
Yeah, we'll see. If I don't know if we can on the road. We score 5.5 runs a game at home. They score 6.8 runs per game at home. All right, but we score 3.8 runs per game on the road. So by all rights, this will be a 7-3 or 7-4 ball game. That's if everything played statistically, and of course we play the games for a different reason because they don't always fall that way. But still.
And when the offense comes out early, that settles Bauer a lot more than pitching fresh. You know what I mean? Like, if he can go into the 2nd inning with a 2-0 lead, he's going to be more in the zone and more relaxed than if he's out there focusing on every single pitch. Could be a home run. I feel like that's what he does. It's like, not now, not now. And he psychs himself out and he throws a meatball and boom. And then he'll throw another one to the next batter. It's like he loses himself. But I think when they get the early lead, he gets a lot more confident in himself and his abilities. And I think he thinks less and slows down and relaxes a lot more, and he's a lot more effective.
Yeah,
other guys don't need that. Kluber doesn't need it. Tomlin did amazing the other night.
They're considering
Encarnacion was,
on short run, 3 days rest. Because they got nowhere else to go. Yeah, and that's what Francona is considering. And that's a big gamble. I can see that
because if they're going to use Merritt today, if you have to use him for 4 or 5 innings, I mean, what else are you going to do?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you're kind of painted into a corner. You know, going back to the Browns, I was reading articles that gave Cody Kessler a B grade for the game, and I gave him an A grade for the game. For God's sakes, the guy threw for 336 yards, and he took hits. And, he has one guy with balls at wide receiver, and then he's got slow Gary Barnage, and then he's got a midget in Hawkins, Ricardo Lewis, who can't catch the ball, and then a bunch of guys who don't play, and an injured guy who was their first round draft pick. He's got nobody to throw to. He had no front line in front of him. They couldn't run the ball, and the son of a bitch still completes 66% of his passes. Son of a bitch still throws for 336 yards, and the son of a bitch still had us in the football game. He gets an A rating, and the thing that bothers me is to keep these things even-tempered in conversation is that Carson Wentz was 11 for 22 for 179 yards. He had a 30.7 QBR, or an overall rating of 77. Kessler had an 105.6 quarterback rating. And here's the beauty of it. Kessler was sacked six times, and beaten around like a rag doll. Carson Wentz was sacked 5 times. For the first time,
Good.
Carson Wentz got a taste of what it's like to face a pass rush and to get hammered.
And that's exactly what we wanted to happen when we were talking about that game on Friday. He needed that reality check big time.
Well, no, I think the fans need the reality check. They were already enshrined.
All right, I'll give you that one. Okay, I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
But I still like seeing him get slammed 5 times.
The fans were enshrined him into the Hall of Fame, and he's just a rookie. He's going to be a fine player. I don't worry about Carson Wentz, but he wouldn't be a fine player with the Cleveland Browns. He'd be an injured player if he was with the Cleveland Browns, and if he keeps getting sacked 5 and 6 times a game, getting beaten around with the Eagles, the same thing's going to happen to him. Nobody can hold up to that. If you look at even Ben Roethlisberger, tore a meniscus. But Ben Roethlisberger's had a long career because, for the most part, his offensive line in Pittsburgh, from the day he joined the team from Miami of Ohio, he was playing behind a solid offensive line. And you see what happens to the guys like the Tim Couches, the guys who start out behind really bad offensive lines. They either get crippled and they're out of the game real quick, or their confidence is shot and they never amount to what they should amount to, and they're never really given a full chance. Unreal to me. Well, I mean, Brady Quinn hasn't made it anywhere, and I don't know.
He never really got a chance, though.
Yeah,
I don't think he really had a solid chance.
What I saw
Fry all the time. I don't know.
I can tell you that Kessler looked better than the vast majority of the rookie quarterbacks that I've seen in the NFL this year. He's actually looking at multiple options. He's going through his progressions. He's staying in the pocket. He's developing a feel for when to scramble a little bit away, but he keeps his head up, and he made a really nice long pass to Ricardo Lewis. He's made some plays running out of the pocket and seeing people down the field. And he's not a threat to run with the ball. He's got smarts about him. And I'm proud that we drafted this guy because he's one of the few things making this watchable from week to week, assuming he's playing and he's not injured. He took, and if you read his personal story, he had a tough week this week, not just coming back from an injury, but a lot of grief with his brother having a heart ailment. And I don't know if you saw that. He's got a rapid heartbeat, and he had to stop playing football, so his football career is over in high school. And his brother called him crying on the phone, and it was really a tragic story. And then one of his relatives passed away this week, like his great-grandmother, I believe it was. I mean, he had a hard week, and he still came out, and he just, he's a young Josh McCown. McCown was even commenting how he was impressed with, how tough the guy played. It doesn't matter whether he's the quarterback of the future or not. He is a guy that you're going to keep, and he is, I think, going to develop into a better quarterback than Brian Hoyer. And Brian Hoyer's been in the league a long time, and Brian Hoyer can win football games, although his statistics are usually better than the amount of points he scores. I say that this guy's got smarts and understands how to move into a system. He's going to get nothing but better once he has some people to start throwing to. He's going to be better.
I will give you that. He's better this week even than the week before. You can see that he's trying, and you can almost imagine that he's in a position like Cyrano with you've got RG3 and Josh McCown whispering in your ear, telling you what to do. Hey, if they could be out there running those plays in their prime or in their youth, they know exactly how to do it. All they have to do is teach him, tell him, and if he absorbs it all and if he takes it all in the way that rookies should, then yeah, he's got the potential to be a great quarterback. Nothing's going to happen overnight. He's not going to explode on the scene with this team around him. There's nowhere for him to go. There's nothing for him to do. We'll just be lucky if he makes it through the season uninjured.
Yeah, I mean, they without offensive linemen, I think Cam Irving has to be sat down. I think they got to move Greco back to center. They got to bring somebody else in. Cooper, the guy that they just got off a practice squad to play. They got to do something because he's overmatched. Now, 1-5, the Carolina Panthers, the Ron Rivera death watch is definitely on full bore. And, I thought that this guy was and this is the way it comes undone. And I saw it happen with Romeo Crennel in between fork bites at the Golden Corral. A guy who's supposed to make his living being a defensive coordinator loses the game 41-38 to the New Orleans Saints. When the wheels come off, the wheels come off. It's like bad coaches find a way to lose, whether it's, well, we only scored 7 points this week, but we gave up 10. Or, well, we scored 38 points, but we gave up 41. I mean, Ron Rivera has to go. They have to fire him because he's got too damn good a team to allow this to happen in Charlotte. I can't figure out, I understand he took him a long way last year, but, that's that.
He and Mike McCoy should both be on watch. McCoy's got to go. He's terrible. He's got he's got weapons, but he's not using them properly. He's not I don't know. I don't think anybody likes him. They don't respect him. He seems kind of meek. I don't see him lasting through the season.
So Kaepernick they got slammed by Buffalo 45-16. I got crushed again in the Pick'em League, and fuck the Pick'em League.
Did you see all the shenanigans that went down in the Bills tailgating lots?
No, I didn't see that.
Oh God. One had a tackling dummy with a Kaepernick jersey and an afro wig on it. And people were saying, tackle the Muslim, and they were knocking it over. Although I'm not sure how that works. And then another one was really gross. Do you want me to tell you?
Sure.
It's really graphic. Some whore was standing there with her pants down, and they were pouring liquor down her ass crack, and someone was drinking it from the bottom of her rear end.
Buffalo, huh?
And I really hope that he's married, and I really hope that his wife saw that video, and I really hope his boss did too.
Yeah, remember how they had what was it, the Dirty Sanchez, when they had all these nicknames for various sex acts?
Oh, you break it up. Nicknames for what?
Various sex acts. They have slang terms for various sex acts. I got one for that. So you pour alcohol down the ass crack, and somebody's underneath with a funnel drinking. That's Niagara Falls. That's Buffalo. Okay, that's the Niagara Falls that you're describing. Nice. Yeah, really a great graphic image.
What do you call the herpes that come with it, though? Those are souvenirs.
The gift that keeps giving. That's right. Unbelievable. The Lions barely beat the Rams, but I at least picked that one right. God, the Dolphins beat the Steelers, but who knew Ben was going to go down like a cheap whore? The Bengals laid down for the Patriots. We kind of knew that was going to happen, didn't we? We play the Bengals next, so they'll be geared up for us just in time to kick the shit out of us. The Cincinnati Bengals are 2-4, and that's not good news for people in Cincinnati. And I always said that they waited too long. You have a window. Every team has a window except the Browns. The Browns have no window of opportunity. But
if we had windows, we'd be jumping out of them.
But there is, like the Indians, the window of opportunity with the starting pitching is now. You got Kluber in top form, Salazar, Carrasco, all under contract. This is the time. It's now. Just like the Cavaliers, the time is now. There's a window of opportunity, then the players will get old. But the window of opportunity for Cincinnati, honestly, was a couple of years ago, and all these first-round exits just compounded the problem. The Raiders lost at home, 26-10 to the Chiefs. Who can figure out what in the hell's going on over there?
They're going to Vegas. They just passed a big stadium bill, I guess it was. Was it a bill or funding, zoning, whatever, to build like a $13 million stadium? So
the
Las Vegas
Seahawks
Raiders
beat the Falcons. The Falcons fucked you this time.
Yeah.
They're a heartbreaker, aren't they? 26-24. They lost to the Seahawks, who are now 4-1. The Cowboys beat the Packers. What is going on in Green Bay? In Green Bay, 30-16. Discount double check. And how do the Texans come back in overtime and beat the Colts? How does that happen? Brock Osweiler throws like a girl. Like a girl.
During the game. Like he looks like somebody's like Dr. Evil runs around. Like just
like a shot putter.
Like pushing it off or something. It's just
it was bad.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Exactly. And the other thing I mentioned in the postgame show yesterday, and Amsterdam says in the chat room that Kessler is a poor man's Alex Smith. It's not a bad comparison. Not a bad comparison at all. The viewership of the postgame show went from a high of 320 down to 76 this week.
Oh my goodness.
And I was looking at other Browns post-game talk kinds of things on the internet, and the same things happened. The interest in this team has just totally waned. So it's really at a point now, and Wiley was all pissed off at my post-game show, but really, you want to talk about the window of opportunity. You've burned the fans. The older fans have left because they don't give a shit anymore. The younger fans never knew winning, and they're like, I got better things to do. And it's pretty bad when the Indians can even come up with a season like this and totally outshine the Browns. And there's no way to get rid of Jimmy Haslam unless you locate his home in North Carolina and firebomb it.
Jeez.
And, the truth is on this, and I'm serious about this.
You're totally right. I mean, Junior could care less about the Browns. He hates them because they don't win. He's seen them win like 3 games that he remembers. He hates the Browns. He doesn't even like watching them. He'd rather watch the Buckeyes. He'd rather watch basketball. He'd rather watch the Cavs. His favorite player is LeBron James. He couldn't even name a single Brown on the team. He knows all the Indians. He loves baseball. But as far as football goes, there's no kids that are going to come up and want to be part of that. You're not going to want to be part of a losing tradition if it's not in your blood, passed down from your dad. I mean, I was born right in 81, so I was right in that era, and I was watching football with my dad from the time I was a tiny little girl. I mean, every single game, I was always with him, so I remember everything about Elway. That's why I still hate him. But I had that in my whole life. I had that in me. I had that connection to them, and they were my team, and I watched them lose, and we came so close. So I've always had that passion about the Browns. What we have now, those aren't the Browns that we had a long time ago. The new Browns, the 1999 and on Browns, it's not the same. Our team is dead. It's gone. The tradition is gone. Everything that was once great about the team doesn't exist anymore. There's no connection to it anymore. It's sad.
Yeah, and I bet you that the GOP headquarters in North Carolina that got firebombed was done by Trump's people. I bet you.
Oh, gosh.
And the reason I'm saying that is because I don't believe anything that I'm hearing rhetorically in this campaign, that everything comes up at a certain time to distract our attentions. I've never known liberals, and I can tell you a lot of bad things about liberals, and their wine and cheese, I'm better than you attitude, their refusal to get behind certain candidates, or their willingness to support Bernie Sanders, who's willing to take all of your fucking money from you and give you nothing in return. There's lots of things I can tell you bad about liberals. But I've never known liberals, especially in a state like North Carolina, where there's 2 Democrat types in North Carolina. And it's one of the reasons why the state is hotly contested, is because you've got Billy Joe Bob, and Billy Joe Bob's the guy who votes red, who votes Republican in North Carolina. He's the hunter, the fisherman, the guy who's, Then there's the bigger city people who are like working in the research corridor of North Carolina. You're in the Golden Triangle. You know where that is? Out in Raleigh, Durham.
Raleigh, my aunt lives there, yeah.
Greensboro, and so those areas tend to lean more blue. And then there's African Americans, right? African Americans predominantly vote Democratic in the state of North Carolina, and it has been a source of antagonism. If you remember Senator Jesse Helms, who was a Republican and a long-term senator, many of his races ended up in race baiting at the end of them in order to convince the famous ad that Jesse Helms ran was called the Black Hand commercial. And it was a guy getting a job and being congratulated on getting the job, and you hear the voices. Then when the hands shake, one's a black hand and one's a white hand, and it said they're taking your jobs. It was really like this horrible. Yeah, it was blatant, and it won the election for Helms because it brought Billy Joe Bob out to the polls because it's like it struck a nerve. The North Carolina politics has always been very racially divided. I don't think that corridor people in the Golden Triangle would write a message referring to Republicans as Nazis, and I definitely know that African Americans would not write something up on a wall that said, "You Republican Nazis." I just don't believe it any more than I believe all of these women who are coming out of the woodwork and say, "He touched my tit." I don't believe that either. It's all timed, choreographed. It's before Wednesday's debate. Let's put as much into play as we possibly can, and none of it is to be believed. None of these two people are to be ever believed by anyone. They're both the biggest liars I've ever seen in my life. But I can guarantee you that the Democratic constituency in North Carolina did not do that. I can guarantee you that. But they're never going to find out who did it. And it's just too easy for people to jump up and say, it was goddamn Hillary and her animals. That's what Trump tweeted. Yeah, Hillary's animals and did this, and it's like too easy. Too easy.
Her campaign did pay people to go to Trump rallies and incite violence. So,
there's no question in my mind that they were there to cause grief. No question in my mind. That way, and then roll the cameras, and then you get footage of it. There is, it's dirty, rotten scoundrels, isn't it? That's what we're watching here, except it's not as funny. And maybe neither one's as retarded as Steve Martin was in the movie. But still, it's the same premise that how low can you go? And I just don't believe any of what I'm seeing. And it's and they're never going to be able to prove it, but he can seize on the moment and say it was these animals that did this. And the truth of the matter is, was anybody there in the building when it happened? No. Did anybody get hurt? No. If somebody really felt that somebody was a denigrating Nazi, there would have been violence. Somebody would have been confronted. There would have been some kind of act of violence that would have horsewhipped somebody or shot somebody. Or it's too convenient. In the middle of the night, somebody just does this, That's what the KKK did. They would show up at night and they put a cross on somebody's yard of fire, They didn't show up in broad daylight. They would even show their fucking faces, the KKK. Yeah. I mean, they wore sheets over their heads because they didn't want, everyone knew who they were amongst each other, but they didn't want to show their face to the world. People who do these types of things, now, they're not self-respecting people who do this, and they're not people who are supporting a political candidate. Nobody in their right mind would show up to a building and do that and risk being put in jail for a long period of time over this political election. You'd have to be absolutely stark raving mad. It's depressing.
Do you think it's like the red flag things that people say, like the bombing in Boston, like the government was in on it and let it happen?
I think they've turned 9/11 into that too. I mean, everything is now conspiracy theory oriented, and these theories are propagated on the internet. So if Donald Trump tweets that it was the Democratic animals that did this, he's got millions of followers who are going to retweet that. And then it's going to get broadcast over and over and over again. And the difference is Hillary doesn't tweet. She owns CNN. So what you get there is CNN repeating the same stories over and over again 24/7 and drumming it into people's brains. The thing that I noticed that was really weird, and I've never seen this before, because I watch both Fox and CNN because I want both imbalanced sides of the argument. And they're running each other's footage.
Jeez.
I know. It's like Fox is kind of turned on Trump. They're trying to save the Republican majority in the House and the Senate, and they've turned on him. And so in order to turn on him, Fox is running clips from CNN, Hillary's network. I mean, it is so fucked up. And I mean, yeah, they're controlling what we see and what we hear. You got to think for yourselves. Nobody's going to blow up a place and firebomb a place like that who's got a political ideology. It doesn't work that way. And, you know, and also nobody can claim that they were sexually assaulted when they said, if you'd have just stayed in the top half of my body, I'd have been good with it. You know, it's no. And not the person who invited Trump to her restaurant, and when he didn't show up, then she gets pissed off, and it was like, oh, then he grabbed my tit or whatever. I mean, on and on and on it goes. You know, somebody who, I mean, and she wrote the letter, the gal who owned the restaurant, you know, I think Donald should come here because I was on The Apprentice. And Donald's like, oh, fuck, I gave you that already. When do I have to stop giving? I mean, the whole thing is not credible. I wanted to mention one last thing before we get out of here because it is sports related. Derek Kindred is the strong safety who's playing now for the Browns, and he will be playing because Jordan Poyer has a lacerated kidney, and he's gone. Listen to the statistics on Derek Kindred. 21 snaps on defense, 22 on special teams. He did not have a tackle. Yet they threw on him. They threw on him repeatedly in the game, but he did not. He wasn't even close enough to his man to make the tackle on the ball that they threw. The touchdown pass. He was burned. He didn't have a tackle the entire game. So I've come up with a new nickname for him.
Okay.
Derek Kindred, you ready? And this will go down right up there with Winslow.
Okay.
Right? Remember, Winslow, who was the guy who said, I'm a soldier when he was at Miami University. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I called him, and then he got injured all the time. I called him the soldier of misfortune. That got picked up nationally. This one will too. Kindred is his last name. Kindred spirit, because that's all that's there. There's no body. Just
he's like a ghost.
Kindred spirit. And no tackles.
They just run right through.
On the field. 43 snaps on a field, no tackles, kindred spirit. Wow. I'm going to plug this one, and I want to see who comes up with this, where this thing turns up again in Cleveland or national media. I want to see where it, in Cleveland media, because nobody's talking about Derek Kindred, but except Cleveland media. But I hope somebody picks up on that so I can take credit for it, and they'll never give me credit for it. It'll show up in an article. It'll show up in an article in Cleveland.com. That's what it will do. Yeah, kindred spirit.
Covered in jizz. What?
All right. We're an hour away from game time, and let's hope for the best for the Indians. I'll be watching unless I fall asleep first. Oh, and you didn't hear, but I was telling you at the beginning of the show last night, I was looking for this great night of sleep, and the last thing that happened, I brushed my teeth and flossed my teeth, and a crown fell out of my mouth.
Oh.
I know. Fuck. That was the end of my sleep for the night. I mean, it was, I had to take an extra half a sleeping pill, and it was like, and I got in today, and thank God, nothing wrong with the tooth, no decay or anything like that. They just took that and just re-cemented it in.
Well, that's good.
Thing is 30 years old, we figured out. 30 years old. That's 30-year-old crown, and it fell out. Yep. So now it's re-cemented in. We're back in business, and I'm just short of sleep. So I'm going to try to get a lot of sleep tonight. If the Indians fall behind really badly early, I'm going to go to bed.
I don't blame you. We have an early game tomorrow.
Yeah, what time is that?
1 o'clock my time, so 4 o'clock for you guys.
4 o'clock? All right, well, that'll give me something to do when I wake up. All right. Well, thanks for rest. Thank you, and you take care and say hi to Junior for me, and we'll see you again on Wednesday.
Sounds good.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And thanks, everybody, for tuning in to this edition of Moohead Radio. Back again on Wednesday. Talk about what happens today and tomorrow. Are we going to be up 3-1? Are we? Is it going to be over, or is it going to be 2-2? And it's going to be white knuckles time? We'll talk about it on Wednesday, 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Moohead Radio. Until then, hasta la vista, pasture heads. Good night.